Absolutely, and it is really sad because one, more so than what does your husband think, what kind of mother are you for doing this? Why aren't you at home being a mother? And as I recall, raising children is a two-person job. You know, it should be. And yes, it tends to lie on women. But yeah, I got asked that a lot. I got asked that, like, what would make me think, shouldn't I be home? Shouldn't I be home raising my child? What kind of mother am I? And I got to tell you, when you're in the trenches of this, there are days that you do question that, because when you have enough people saying it to you, you do question, am I being a good mother? Am I doing right by my child? Am I missing out on something? And, you know, my husband, actually, he stood behind me and said, imagine what your daughter is learning from you for what you're doing. Imagine the change. You know, imagine those women in history that had to stand up for not the norm, for not the comfortable life of just moving along, but actually standing up and taking a stand. And I got to tell you, you and I are very good friends. It takes a strong man to stand behind a woman. I mean, and it takes a man who really understands that we each have our own personal endeavors that we want to try to do in our life. And my husband, Kevin, was my first person that said, when I went and asked him, what do you think about me running for office? He didn't say yes. He said, it's about time. So that's
dope.
Relationship we have, but you know, he let me have it on my time. He didn't say, hey, you need to run, or hey, aren't you thinking about running? He allowed me to go through that, because it is hard as a female, as a woman of color. I mean, it's all upward bound, you know, challenge. There's nothing easy rolling. You're rolling the dice. You've got people who feel insecure. You've got personal women who almost are jealous of you, the cattiness. Yeah. So it's always an uphill battle. But, you know, I really didn't ask him. He was like, he actually secured my decision and empowered me to move forward. But yeah, and it is a conversation I've had, and I've actually had conversations even harder than that. I actually had someone more than once tell me, you're a nice lady, I like what you say, but I just don't vote for Hispanics. In my face. Wow. Now, just imagine the ones that never actually said it to me. And I can literally count 3 people who said that to me. The first time,
what does that do to your psyche, though? Because, I mean, running for office is hard. I mean, you know that firsthand. But what does that do for your psyche when you have so many people, well, maybe not so many people, but even if you just have 1 or 2 individuals who come up to you and say, if your husband doesn't approve, you should do this. I don't vote for Hispanics. I don't vote for women. So that's 3 shots against you. So how much more difficult did that make, you know, your run when you have individuals who still have this type of backward mindset?
You know, it's funny. The first time it happened to me, I was completely shocked. I was speechless. All I could say was, have a nice day. And I admit this only because it is important for women and people to understand what the true feeling of your core is. I walked away in tears. That first time I left there, I picked up the phone and called my husband in tears. And I could not believe that racism was so blatant that someone would tell me that. You know, we always know people think it. But to have someone, because you're running for office, think that there's no barriers, there's no respect for you as a human being, that they can say whatever they want. But let me tell you, by the second and third time, I actually said, God bless you, and you have a good day. Because ignorance like that, you can't change. What you do want to do is you want to go out and reach the people and empower the people who do believe in you to come out. And I always say, I ran a strong campaign. I ran a hard campaign. I was dedicated for 18 months of my life to this campaign. I knocked on 18,000 doors every single day in those 18 months I walked. And I sacrificed my family. I sacrificed my personal growth and my personal career. But I believed in it. And I believe that if you want to do something, you have to go after it. But it's that lack of the ones that believe in you, the ones that like you, getting them to the polls. You know, I know I met a lot of people who liked me, but I don't know if they actually made it to the poll. You know, as much as we try to keep track and we try to run things, you don't know, you know. But you know, if I don't regret what I went through, you know, I believe that everything comes in change. I'm a person of faith. I believe God has a plan for me. It wasn't right there at that time. I've never stopped continuing to serve my community. I mean, you know that I've taken on another endeavor that has allowed me actually, I think, sometimes to do more than I would have been if I would have been restricted by government. But it doesn't stop me from moving forward and trying to look for new challenges and still serve my community. because the value that I believed
Yeah.
that day when I decided to run office stands in me today.